Beseder. So now we want to know, if not with the ber davar, what could the other prohibitions be? As we've seen, there must be another prohibition, otherwise why can't I hand my wallet over to, or my pack over to the guy in the 20 minutes before Shabbat, when I see that Shabbat is coming? Why should the Mishnah have a problem? Why should the Gemara even assume that there could be a problem with telling a guy to block my ox and do the threshing? There's no kedusha there. It can't have to do the davar. In the Rishonim, we learn two directions. One is Rashi's direction. Rashi brought on the next page, Daf Kuf Nun Gimel, next page in the English pages, in page 4 here, in the English version. Top of the page. My tam ashali le'lemetav le'nochli ve'arehu shlucho liseinu b'Shabbat. So Rashi sends us to the topic of shlichut, of using proxy or acting vicariously, right? Having someone do something on my behalf. Rashi says that here too we have the problem of shlichut. We're going to go a bit deeper into shlichut in a moment, but first I want to mention the Rambam's direction. The Rambam takes it into a different direction. The Rambam says, on the next page, page 5 in the English, in the English at least, it's smack in the middle of page 5. Rambam, Hilchot Shabbat, Perik Vav Halacha Aleph, Asur lomar legoy la'asod lanu melacha b'Shabbat, af al pi she'ino mitzuvah l'Shabbat, ve'af al pi she'amar lo mikodem ha'Shabbat, ve'af al pi she'ino tzarich l'ota melacha ela la'achar ha'Shabbat. Already now I'll point out, the Rambam says, Asur lomar legoy la'asod lanu melacha b'Shabbat, af al pi she'ino mitzuvah l'Shabbat, that the goy isn't mitzuvah l'Shabbat. Fine, the goy doesn't need to keep Shabbat. Okay? Af al pi she'amar lo mikodem ha'Shabbat. Right? The Rambam's emphasizing, the way I read the Rambam at least is, the Rambam's emphasizing, how do I know that there's another prohibition, apart from the davar? The Rambam has a whole other parak for the davar and the davar. There's a whole other parak on the davar. Why does he say there's another prohibition? The prohibition is, davar zasur d'vrei sufrim kedei shelot Shabbat kala b'nein ve'yavo la'asot b'atzma. So Chazal have a special gzeira. They're concerned that if you tell a goy to do the melacha for you on Shabbos, so you're not going to take Shabbat very seriously, you'll end up doing it yourself. Just point out, we're not going to go deeply into this in any of the shurim that I see coming up. At one point, many poskim said the same about Shabbos clocks. Many poskim said regarding Shabbos clocks that just as the Rambam said that we're not going to take Shabbos seriously, if we see you can turn lights on and off, you don't set your air conditioner, you just have your air conditioner, you know that the guy will come turn it on and off before Shabbat or more in the winter, so make the heat, right? You don't bother dealing with the heat before Shabbat, setting it to a certain good temperature, you have the guy turning it on and off, you have the guy cooking for you, you have the guy doing everything, and then you'll end up just not realizing it's Shabbos. Sort of Moshe said, same thing applies to Shabbos clock. Right? You wake up, you go to sleep at night, the lights go off, the heat goes on, everything's happening on Shabbat. People won't take Shabbat seriously, just like the Rambam said. So, Am Yisrael didn't accept that, and you use Shabbos clocks. But the Rambam's concept here is Chazal prohibited asking a goy to do what we need done on Shabbos because you won't take Shabbat seriously. And the way I read the Rambam, at least the Rambam points out, Afal pi she'amar lo mikodem ha'Shabbat. Why? The Rambam, to my understanding, is hinting, apart from the davar, there's another prohibition. Just like you'd asked earlier. Why should I not be allowed to give the wallet to the guy? I'm not doing anything on Shabbos. The Rambam says, you're right. The davar only applies to Shabbos. But there's another problem, that you won't take Shabbat seriously, and then you'll end up being Mechal Shabbat yourself. So the Rambam takes it in a direction that refers to taking Shabbat seriously, and Rashi takes it in a direction of being Mechal Shabbat vicariously, with a proxy. Someone else doing it on your behalf. Now, it must be pointed out, as far as Shlichut is concerned, we'll say a few words about that. Shlichut we have in the whole Torah. Kiddushin, goes through the whole limud. How do we know? You can have someone else do something on your behalf. Exactly, shaliach doing things on your behalf is just like you are. Very interesting Tosfot in Kiddushin and Chetamud Bet. The Mishnah there in Kiddushin and Chetamud Bet says, if I tell someone to mekadesh a woman for me, right? So it works, right? And he says, Harayat mekudeshet to B'tzalel, so she's mekudeshet to B'tzalel. Fine. Now, what happens if he goes, the Mishnah says, if he goes and he's mekudeshet to himself, what's the din then? The Mishnah says it's a very big chidush. She's mekudeshet to him. Does it say, yeah, of course. Well, what's the other option? Again, I tell Yaakov, go do Kiddushin, that woman, right? Give her the thing and say, marry, right, make her mekudeshet to me. He goes and makes her mekudeshet to him, to himself. Who's she mekudeshet to? To him. Tremendous chidush, right? Tosot say, what's the other option? Of course he's mekudeshet to him. He went, he's mekudeshet to himself, so she's mekudeshet to him. Yeah. Why does the Mishnah have to tell me that? Tosot have an amazing answer. Rabbeinu Tam, Tosfot says, when I tell Yaakov, go do the Kiddushin on my behalf, he becomes me. So now he goes to the woman and says, Harei at mekudeshet li. Right? You're now mekudeshet to me. Who is this me? Who is that? It's not him, it's me. Now, it's his hand, and it's his voice, and it's his everything. But everything he's doing is acting vicarious, right? It's my action, vicariously through him. Right? So we would have thought that despite his saying that mekudeshet li, she'd be mekudeshet to me and not to him. Kamash Melan, that we know that he meant and she meant to break out of the shlichut. And that's the chidush. It's chidush. And that's how seriously we take shlichut. Now, Elamai, there are a few problems with applying shlichut to a goy being mechalel Shabbat on my behalf. Mainly two problems. One is, there's a halacha that in Sherach L'Dvar Avera, you can't have all those things work when it comes to mitzvah or to transactions and legal transactions, but not monetary transactions, but not to sin. The second problem is that the whole Gzerat HaKatuv of Shlichut applied to a Jew, not to a God. That's also in Farsh Gemara and Kiddushin there, same place. Now, the first problem, I think, is not such a problem. I'll tell you why. The Gemara, why is it that there ain't Sherech L'Dvar Avera? There's only Sherech for mitzvot or for legal things or monetary things. Why is there no Sherech L'Dvar Avera? Why does it not apply to sins? The Gemara says, because Divrei Harav, Divrei Tamid, Divrei Mishomin. Right? Meaning, the master says to do one thing, the pupil says to do something else, you should listen to the master, not to the pupil. So, if I tell someone, go mechalel Shabbat, and he goes and breaks Shabbos. So then Hashem comes to me and says, why do you tell him to break Shabbos? And I say, my answer is going to be, why do you listen to me? You should listen to you, you shouldn't listen to me. So Hashem doesn't find me liable in this situation because he shouldn't have listened to me. He should be thinking and realize that this is the wrong thing to do. And I don't take this shlichut seriously. When I tell someone, go break Shabbos, so as our mothers all told us, and if your friends will tell you, jump off the roof, you jump off the roof. Right? Mothers told all of us this. Right? So the same applies. Hashem says, why do you tell him to break Shabbos? I say, and if I told him to jump off the roof, he jump off the roof. Breaking Shabbos is jumping off a roof. Why should he do such a thing? Could the same be said about a goy? If I tell a goy, break Shabbos. Okay? Hashem never told the goy to do otherwise. Adrabah, right? The goy isn't allowed to keep Shabbos. Right? So when it comes to shlichut, in that sense, the shlichut L'Dvar Avera here could work. Because Hashem will tell me, why did you choose to break Shabbos like this? And I'll say, I didn't think the guy would do it. And Hashem will say, why not? Okay, good point. In that sense, the guy could be my shaliach. Elamai, there's a Gzerat HaKatuv that a guy can be a shaliach. And that just doesn't work. That whole acting as someone's proxy, the whole vicarious action, only applies to a Jew. So that's how the Torah works. There's an important kiddushin in Ketubot Nuntet. No, sorry. Confused something else. Onwards. The point is, the Rishon, so we see, I'll show in a couple of places, Rashi here in Daf Ayin Aleph writes, it's a Chomer Drabanan, by God Meimonio, Shulchan Aruch Harav, they all say it's Betzim a Chomer Drabanan, meaning, Midrabanan we see the Goy as my proxy. Now I just want to point out something about, I discussed, I'm not sure if this distinction works in English, it's more of something I feel, and this isn't an English lesson, so I don't know how important it is. What's important is the appreciation of the distinction I'm going to make between someone working as my proxy. If I give someone power of attorney to do things on my behalf, so he's the one who's acting. It's on my behalf. So legally, we see it as my action. Now, presumably that shouldn't be a problem on Shabbos. Why not? Same reason as the Shabbos clocks, right? There's no problem with the fact that my washing machine washed my clothing on Shabbat. The prohibition is for me to wash the clothing on Shabbat. So if I run the washing machine before Shabbat, it could continue running on Shabbat. We're going to learn that it's not as simple as that, but broadly speaking, that's the way it works. So the mere fact that the Goy did something that is opposed to Shabbat unto itself isn't a problem, unless we see me as being active in that. So in that sense, it's not enough to say that he's my proxy. You have to see him as acting mamash as me. Maybe like mamash, I'm acting vicariously through him. His hand is mine. That's why I mentioned, sorry?
Extension.
An extension, yes. An extension of my own, right? I'm really acting vicariously. It's not as a proxy, it's, right? A true, I thought that's the difference between acting vicariously and acting and the proxy. Then I discussed with Yaakov, maybe it's not so simple. But presumably we have to say that the Goy is acting as an extension of myself. This will lead us in the next year, in unit number 2, to the questions of if he's acting for my benefit, if he's and we see it as my action, it makes more sense to say why I'm not allowed to reap any benefits from that action. We'll see that in shir number 2. But we'll leave that at that for the moment. I want to move back to the Rambam. The Rambam is focused on not taking Shabbat seriously, right? And then you'll end up breaking Shabbat. There's a bit of a question of what is the Rambam's central focus? Is the Rambam mostly concerned about breaking Shabbat, or is the Rambam more concerned about not taking Shabbat seriously? I was wondering, let's start talking about the nafkaminot. Sorry?
Maybe the Geda.
Well, the concern is that I'll break Shabbat and
the chol and all that, and come to cheapen even Zalzal.
Right. So presumably the question is the problem that I'm cheapening Shabbat, or is the problem that I'm really concerned that I'll break Shabbat myself? You might ask, what's the nafkamina? I want to point that out when we reach. I want to continue a bit and then point out where that is nafkamina. So first of all, as we've already said, the Dabar Davar can't apply to something that happens during the week. The Dabar Davar must apply to things we do on Shabbat itself. But the other two, not necessarily so. The shlichut aspect has to apply to things that are done before Shabbat as well. And if I tell the Goy on Friday, for example, just an example, I don't know where I came with this example. For example, if I want the Goy to carry for me on Shabbat, I tell him right before Shabbat, that's definitely prohibited, right? It says that in the Mishnah. It's hard to argue with that. So that has to be included. So telling the Goy before Shabbat, do this on Shabbat, must be prohibited. Because it says in the Mishnah. What's the prohibition? We just asked. That was Rashi and the Rambam's answers. But that there's no way of arguing with that. It's a Mishnah. What about telling the Goy on Shabbat to do something after Shabbat? So here we might look at the opposite, right? If I tell the Goy on Shabbos that after Shabbat I want him to start my barbecue right after Shabbat, The deber davar is a problem, just like I'm now telling a guy I want to have a barbecue. I can't tell a guy we're gonna be barbecuing after Shabbat. You might say that you want to eat, but not that you can cook. So I'm not going to go into the exact. But telling the guy, why did you do this melacha for me right after Shabbat? That's a problem. Just like I'm now tell a guy, tell Israel, tell a Jew, let's do this thing that's asr on Shabbos on Shabbat. Shlichut shouldn't be a problem because a guy is allowed to because when the guy does the barbecue, it's Sunday already. It's not a problem, right? When the guy acts on my behalf, he's acting on during the week, and that's not a problem. Right, what about the Rambam, Shabbat Kala Beinehem? It's a question. The question is my very discussing with him also a problem? It seems that if the Rambam thought that the Rambam would say it, because the Rambam did say, not only am I allowed to tell him on Shabbos to do on Shabbos, also during the week I'm allowed to tell him to do on Shabbos. Why didn't the Rambam say the other option of telling him on Shabbos to do during the week? It seemed that the Rambam would think that that's part of the Devar Davar, not part of Shabbat Kala Beinehem. What about hinting? So we're going to have to in the next year we're going to talk more. We're going to discuss a bit more about hinting and what hinting is already too close to actual creating shaliach. But I just want to end off with a point about the Rambam. Right, I tell the guy it's pretty cold here, and he says, "Oh, should I get your coat, sir?" I say, "Well, I think everyone's kind of cold." He says, I can go look for all the other coats." I said, "No, I don't think that's going to cut it." He says, "Okay, so I'll also make everyone some tea." Like, no, that wasn't my point. Look, the remote control for the air conditioner, for the heat is over there. He says, "Oh, should I put it away?" I'm like, No, just give it here. I press the button, right? There's something about that could be the hinting aspect. According to the Rambam, dealing with trying to make the goy do these things on my behalf might be a bigger problem. On the one hand, telling him like this in such roundabout manners says I'm being very careful not to touch Shabbat. On the other hand, you have to think, is there another aspect that you'll end up being Mechal Shabbat more because you're not just having him do it on your behalf? So we're going to go deeper into the whole issue of hinting next time, Bezrat Hashem. Shkoyach.